Bienvenidos a otra edición de Tomando Café con Jesus Hoyos y hoy nos visita John Taschek, que es el Chief Market Strategy Officer de Salesforce. And we're going to switch to English. I think John saw for a second, oh my goodness, we're going to do this in Spanish.
Well, I would catch every third or fourth word.
I know. So, John, thank you for your time. Long time no see. John, is in charge of the analysts, influencers, and he makes sure that every year somehow I get to go to Dreamforce, and he makes sure that I talk to the right people so understand, all the different products that Salesforce provide. Thank you for that, John. And I'm gonna let you can do your own introductions and everything. But the whole idea today, as part of the series that I have with Tomando Café con Jesus Hoyos, drinking coffee, is that we're going to talk about coffee. Try to understand, everything about AI. Salesforce is moving quickly with AI. I think there is a message every other hour, a new announcement and everything. So we try to make sense out of that. I'm going to try to explain how I see it. And then, you can tell me, Jesus, this way or that way. So the whole idea, for this podcast, people understand, what Salesforce is trying to accomplish with AI or what it already has accomplished. Okay, because you're already moving fast. So
sounds great,
John. Thank you. So explain what is what you do at Salesforce.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on this show, this program, Jesus. It's it's been a long time since we have seen each other in person. It seems too long. Even a month is too long, actually. But yeah, Dreamforce is coming up in September. I hope to see you there.
I'll be there,
and it's coming up, soon. So, and also thank you for the introduction. So I am John, and I run a team called Market Strategy. I've been at Salesforce coming up on 21 years now in July, and I've had the same role pretty much the whole time, which is that I do a lot with looking at the customers, the analysts, and taking the viewpoints that they have, whether they're positive, negative, or neutral, or maybe not even knowing what all that Salesforce does. And I synthesize those and I feed them back into the product organization. I work for David Schmeier, who's the chief product officer. And it's these are viewpoints that you just can't get anywhere else, especially from the analysts who cover Salesforce and often know more about Salesforce than some people at Salesforce do, or anybody else, because it's study it 100% of the time sometimes. So I have what I think is the greatest position at Salesforce. Now, I started when there were 300 people, roughly, in 2003. It's 75,000, so there's a bigger scale there, but it's pretty much the same role that I've had, and I love it every day.
Yeah, and again, every time that I go to Dreamforce, we have an agenda. It's set up for all the influencers and analysts, and sometimes it's extremely tough to meet everybody, especially during Dreamforce. And I, John and his team, they make the impossible to be sure that we meet the right person. It doesn't matter if this is, in that particular meeting, because, people who have gone to Dreamforce, from one place to another, by the time you cross, it takes you a week, and you have to hide because you say people, you say hi, and you start talking and chatting, because that's the whole idea of Dreamforce. It's a big community of people that know each other. And John is like, you need to go to that place and be sure that you talk to that person at that moment right now, or go to the bar, or go to this restaurant, and that person is going to be there. He's going to give you the 5 minutes that I promised to you, So for all those years, doing that, John, thank you very much. It's been very, very helpful.
You're absolutely welcome. I find it, I love the event. Last year was an awkward event for me because I had jury duty somehow that I couldn't get out of during that same time. So I was splitting time between helping to, in a case, of course, in San Francisco court versus Dreamforce. So I was like going from, to part of Dreamforce to jury duty back to the events that we have. But, I like it. It's been designed to be kind of a melting pot, a community where customers, partners, analysts, press, anybody can just mingle together without having too much of an agenda, But of course, there is an agenda like recommendations that that we want to have. But if anyone who's listening to or watching this hasn't been to Dreamforce, I recommend checking it out.
I agree. This place to be, the place to be. So, John, before we start talking AI, are you a coffee drinker?
I am.
I have my cup here.
I've got my like, this is Gold Country Roasters. I'll give a little pitch for Murphy's, California, which is a little small town of about 2,300 people. I think there are actually more wineries than people in the town sometimes, but they also make some delicious coffee, and they call it Murphy's Blend or Arnold Blend, and these are like little towns around the area. But I love it.
Yeah, it's funny because in my family, we have a ritual every time that I go to Dreamforce. They show up that Thursday and Friday, and we stay over the weekend. And we go to, Yosemite, or we go to the Pacific Highway, or we go, to the many wineries, Lake Tahoe, and so on and so on. So we try to stay around. So every time that we go there is a family happening or a history that we have. Right? A car accident, actually 2 car accidents.
Oh,
we get lost. We get lost in Merced River. We're chased by bears. So my daughter prepared a cup. Of the different things that that we've been through. So based on what we do, every time that we go to California, traditionally around right after Dreamforce. So I've been stuck in snow up in Lake Tahoe in Mini Cooper. Right after Dreamforce, so and that was the conversation the other day. So I told him, I'm going to Dreamforce this year. And he said, they were like, I see you Thursday. And they're already looking, to show up on Thursday. He said, so that's a ritual that we have in the family. We associate Dreamforce as a family, as an adventure.
That's great. I love it.
And then, I tell them, but remember, Dreamforce is an adventure. I've been, you got to go up and down to all those meetings, restaurants, drinking. Say, my wife is telling that's a good life. Then we show up, and then you have a better life. So that's a ritual every time that we go to Dreamforce. So
I'm curious what on the mug you showed and that your daughter created. What is da na na? I saw that. Did I read that incorrectly there? Da na na. What?
Yeah, the song says "Looking for Adventure." Na 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 na. So that's the thing. So every time that we get out and we already bundle and we're ready to go into the canoe or the hike or whatever or biking, we go, okay, looking for adventure. That's our theme song, and we start singing it until we go and hike and do that. So that's our ritual.
I love it.
So, and I have here as well. Don't forget the duct tape. Okay, which I have it here. So as a good hiker, you will always have a duct tape for anything that happens. So
yeah, well, you always need that. Yes.
So John, let me try to do a briefing of how I see Salesforce with AI, because you've been doing AI for many years, and this is the AI that is embedded in your cloud, and AI, could be, machine learning, deep learning, and many other, language models that you already have embedded. The traditional one, if we look, for example, at the Sales Cloud, is the scoring of the opportunity. Okay, you use data from Salesforce and you calculate, using AI, the scoring. Okay, and again, I'm going to I'm simplifying here because you have many other features in AI for sales. In service, you have one that will, give you a recommendation, when you do a reply. Okay, for service. For marketing, you also have a scoring in the, both clouds, marketing cloud account engagement and engagement. And you also have, the prediction when to sell an email. Okay. And in commerce, you do the same thing. You have, predictions, you have recommendations. And within the platform, okay, you also have, the predictive builder, you have, the discovery, and depending of the cloud that you buy as a customer, you get most of this. Okay. Now, fast forward, then we have generative AI, and you have Einstein Copilot. okay, which is another product that runs in multiple clouds, has a data cloud, and now you are also providing copilots for your different verticals, and at the same time you have a platform where you can engage or connect to other Gen AI solutions, and large language models, and you can have a hybrid approach as well. Okay, and then depending of what you need, depending on the clouds that you have like those three different options. You have whatever comes out of the box, what you have with Copilot, and whatever you can have hybrid mode with Copilot and outside. Okay, is that a fair assessment so far of what you guys have?
Absolutely. And you're right. We've been in AI for nearly a decade. Largely it was predictive. And we launched Einstein 8 or 9 years ago, roughly. And we had our organic development in AI, and we had acquired about 20 companies, including MetaMind and others that supported AI across the board for marketing, but also for IT and for development, analyzing log files, across the board, platform up into the app stack. And it's been hugely successful. The Salesforce trajectory over the last 8 or 9 years has been, phenomenal. Last year, about a year and a half ago, when Chat GPT was released into the wild, so to speak, I think it's Chat GPT 3 in November, that opened up a kind of a whole new world for what AI could be used for, and LLMs were part of that. Well, few people knew that we were working on LLMs and prompt engineering prior to that. So we had a big head start. And you're absolutely right. We want to put and infuse this AI technology into the app stack and the platform and make, give customers what they need, but also what they want, which is can they simplify their work? They need to either grow their company, make it more efficient, or retain their customers. And Salesforce has been, that's the de facto choice for most customers for that. And, but technology keeps changing, and we haven't stopped innovating or changing ourselves.
How do you see the challenge of, because this is moving so fast, evolving, there's different versions of Gen AI just with Chat GPT, and I don't know, Chat GPT, I was listening a podcast yesterday, they're like a market cap of 3 billion, and the other ones are, down over here, and they're moving fast, and everybody, Apple is, is now, working with them as well, and everybody, and companies eventually will evolve into having their own large language models. And I think yesterday you AI research group put together a performance metric so you can measure, how fast these models are moving. How difficult or how flexible, how agile, takes, for you guys, to put all this together, because you got to move fast, and you always like in front of everything, ChatGPT came up, and within 30 days you guys were making all your announcements and everything, so how I'm becoming amazed, and some companies are, some of your competitors are very quiet, others haven't said anything at all, but you guys are upfront, putting that message out there, putting products outside, so people can see it.
We are moving quite fast. Absolutely. The last year, a little over a year, has been, yes, there's things changing and being updated and new announcements all the time, whether it's for our core applications or for our industries or from the research labs. As you pointed out, there's the benchmark now that can measure the performance of your LLMs. It's what you would think. There's 4 criteria. One of them is speed, which you mentioned, but the trust and safety. So our first big announcement, besides that we were doing what we were planning on doing with AI, came just 1 year ago, roughly June 12th, I think, when we launched the trust layer. And so there's a foundational part of GPT that there's a fear. When Chat GPT was released, there was a fear inside of companies. Where is the data going? Where is the prompt itself? Where is it stored? Is it going to be toxic if it gives you an answer? How can you embed it? The first reaction is to shut it all down. And, so you have to have safety nets. So some of our first announcements were about this trust layer. Measures toxicity, gives you, make sure that we have partnerships with OpenAI, Anthropic, Cohere, and other LLM and GPT-like technologies. And so we're open about it, but in the end, we want to make sure that our customers can be compliant and go through levels of safety checks and things like that. That said, we're doing all that. We're adding on to the AI capabilities. The AI capabilities are being updated themselves outside of Salesforce.
But let me stop here for a second, because we'll talk about trust, and I want to be sure that people understand what that really means. Those check and balances that you're discussing, because you have zero data retention policy. Okay, you have grounding, which means that you want to be sure your data is protected, and when you retrieve it, it works perfectly. You have prompt defense, where you put policies, when you do the prompt, and no anybody can make any question. It's like going to a meeting asking a question to a wrong person. Data masking. You also have protecting the data, especially for the financial industry. Toxicity. There we go. Here's my accent and my dyslexia. Toxicity scoring. Okay. And then the auditing and the transparency of the data. So all that is part of your trust architecture. And I'm assuming these are things that, when you sit down and trying to put together your AI strategy, you can, check all this to be sure that when you deploy it, everything is fine,
That's right. Guardrails, pretty much, is what it is. And it's to protect the customer, our customers, protect the companies, and it allows them to innovate and deploy technologies in a safer way. So we can both accelerate our innovation and keep the customer and the customer data safe at the same time.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, pricing, because I still believe, everybody's talking AI, but companies, AI for most of the companies, and again, coming from Latin America, there's not, there's a CRM budget in most of the companies, and there's an ERP budget and there's an operation budget. But today, in 2024, companies don't have an AI budget yet. And they don't know what that means yet. They're going through the process, and trying to understand how to make sense, what has been your approach, so people understand that, besides, buying tokens, credits, users, and volume, there's a set of funding that they need to do, like, for example, having a AI, chairperson in the company, all the way down to the developer who needs to be trained whenever that person is using AI in the prompt to generate flows or generate, Apex code. All that is a challenge, because people say, I don't know where to start. This is cost too much, or I don't know how. Eventually, it's going to be a commodity as we, and all these supercomputers, get cheaper. but that's a challenge, no? How you guys see that today?
Well, I mean, you're absolutely right. It's more than the elephant in the room. It's pretty much the room sometimes. But well, I think it's still a bit of a wild west out there for pricing. No one really knows what how much they're going to consume in an AI fashion. They're deploying it now. sometimes in pilots, sometimes in a little bit wider than that. And our goal is absolutely to simplify pricing across the board. And, going back to the beginning of Salesforce, one of the things we want to do was stabilize the price and just make it, we had a per user per month pricing as an example. That stabilized the price. So you knew what you were getting and you knew what you were paying for. And over time with predictive, and then we also have messaging, and we have, for Marketing Cloud specifically, we have all kinds of things that are more consumption-based pricing. But we simplified that over time, and it's rolled into contracts. But with AI, most companies I talk to, most of the customers I talk to, don't know how much they're going to be using yet. They just know that they will be using it. And so we have to come up with new programs. One of them is Paygo, and another one is Digital Wallet, and which allows you to move basically pricing into a credits-based, so customers can estimate how much they're going to pay, and then if they're not using it in one area, they can move it to another area, and so on. We are a business, of course, but I don't know. I don't know if I agree with you that it's going to be commoditized soon. Parts of it surely will, but there's too much technology being built on other types of technology. Bots, for example, our data cloud and our fabric for consolidating data and making sense of data all plays into this. But I can just honestly say that we're going to be as transparent with pricing as possible, and we're going to simplify pricing, and we're going to make it so that it's value based instead of just customers paying for something they don't know what they're getting the value out of yet. So we have that's on us. We have to prove the value of it. Right now, I think it's a bit of guesswork.
Yeah, it's in transition. It's in transition,
Yeah.
It's in transition. No, because I don't remember probably 2 Dreamforce ago when you guys came up with the data cloud, the actual Salesforce data cloud back then. Pricing was an issue. I wasn't the only one asking the question. And back then you guys didn't know, and you still have you go into that process, and it's the same thing. It's data that you're going to have, and now you're connecting to the other data clouds. To the Snowflake, the Databricks, and consumption value-based MuleSoft.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be because at the very end, the fuel for AI is going to be the data. You need to have it somewhere semi-organized, even though it's decentralized. But you need to have all these mechanisms, to be sure that it works, from that point of view. Now, let me ask you this: in terms of the architecture, there's pricing is in transition. You have all these different layers of AI. You have the trust capabilities, but can I with Einstein Copilot build my own large language model? Can I have my own? Because you also came up with yesterday with a new announcement about RAG and the Vertex database. Can I also use it as my connect and build my own large language model for my company, so people understand, so I can improve, the scoring, or I can improve, the way I send emails. And give me one example. You can use generative AI to send emails from, Marketing Cloud account engagement. That's tough for me to say because I always say pardon. Okay. Okay.
Understood.
And then you have the emails that you generate in Sales Cloud, and then you have the emails in Commerce, and then you have the email Marketing Cloud. And then here comes the content manager, and I know that you guys are the content builder. You guys are trying to standardize that, across the different clouds. But somehow somebody's going to say, no, this needs to be a standards. We need to be sure that trust and the email generated is the same. So I'd rather take this, put it over here, generate that, and then come back, and then everybody's happy. Versus having using 3 different AI functionality in 3 different clouds. Or it could be that I have Sales Cloud and I have another, F9, for the call center, or Genesis, and which one do I use? So will Einstein Copilot help me, saying, let me bring all this together and let me put it in this layer, so then we can push it down to the different CRM modules.
Yeah, it seems like you have a couple different statements going on. One is, let's start with Data Cloud. The data can reside wherever it is, but it has to be normalized, standardized in some aspect in order for it to be, to make sense of it. Once you do that, and there's a large degree of it is unstructured, but there's obviously structured data in different areas. And we want, wherever it is, Redshift, BigQuery, Snowflake, for a customer to make sense of that data, there has to be a consolidated view, and also not just a view, but actions and workflows built on top of it. Once you have that set up, Data Cloud is, I think it is the fastest growing cloud that we have. Once you have it in order, your AI, your generative AI, whatever AI you're using, can make more sense of the data you have. And once it makes more sense, more people will put the data back in, because it's people generated data that's going into it. And often there's also other types of data that's not, generated by an actual person, but most of it are opportunities, email responses. Some of it's automated, some of it's people. And then the AI can make more sense of it. So you have to have that kind of structure grounded. It has to be there. And so we have the trust layer, which would say like a top layer. The Data Cloud would be a little more of another layer well below that, and your apps layer is in there too. So there's that has to happen. The other part of your question was that there's data generated like emails from Sales Cloud or Marketing Cloud or bots or future
exactly
mm-hmm. Generated. Yeah, our goal is we have to work the way businesses work too, and they're not all the same, work the same way. Sometimes sales teams will send out their own emails, right? Sometimes marketing will send out its own emails, but you have to have a consolidated view. So those is, I would say, my answer will be this is an engineering issue. And what we're doing is moving these clouds into core so that you can do the workflows on it. Core meaning our original Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, so on. They're just moving into the core applications. Now, of course, some of these technologies were acquired. Commerce Cloud, in large part, was demandware. It didn't operate on the core, right? It's in separate instance. Marketing Cloud was either Pardot or Exact Target or a couple others that were acquired years ago, moving those into core. So we've already made the objects talk to each other. There's a consolidated view. There's consolidated actions. Once it's on core, a lot more of that makes sense. Now, I'm not sure if I answered your actual question now.
No, I know a good example of that for me is your new product, the Marketing Cloud Growth Edition. Which is core. Is I call it a mini Pardot mini Marketing Cloud. You're going after the small businesses. When I saw it, I said, yeah, that's the feature. That's the way. That's the way to go. And it's going to change the role of many people because one of the things that I do a lot, putting together Salesforce ecosystem, is that you no longer have a Salesforce Sales Cloud administrator. You have a Salesforce ecosystem administrator. Because we're managing the relationship of the customer. Okay, it's no longer marketing, sales, or service or whatever other cloud. And you guys have different options. So we got to think about the right data model. So it makes perfect sense for many companies and move to the data cloud. Salesforce Data Cloud. So you can see everything. And then when you think about the journey, it's not the journey Marketing Cloud. It's not the engagement studio in the marketing cloud account engagement, or it's not flow in sales cloud, it's all of them together, working together, and you need that orchestration, and and again, so when you try to standardize, in the life cycle of the customer, content makes sense, because when you do a campaign, it's from whenever the person is a visitor all the way down when they buy from you, and you create, loyalty programs, and you continue the whole cycle, So I think how we're moving, way back, we used to call, I don't see Salesforce as a CRM system. It's a complete, customer engagement ecosystem.
Well, that's what we're trying to. That's one of my goals, is to help expand the definition of CRM. Now, CRM the definition is expanding over time anyway. I mean, it used to be kind of sales management, marketing management, maybe service management cases. It's much bigger than that now. But sometimes when you hear CRM, it's still sales, service, and marketing. But it's so much more. It's even more than sales, service, commerce, marketing. It's anything that touches the customer.
The traditional, CRM, the traditional box, so I always try, when I come across, advising company, let's define what CRM it is, and let's define how we can move that over into the relationship of the customer, and AI, data cloud, are going to be, the data is going to be the fuel, AI is going to be the engine, so you can do, many things, and I see, when I was defining, AI is going to be commodized, I see the future, where, you're going to be talking to Salesforce, and that consumption pricing or value-based pricing, in 6 months or 3 years or 5 years or 10 years, it's going to be based on that conversation that we're going to have, eventually, even though we have now conversational AI or, Einstein AI, eventually the word AI is going to be out, it's going to evolve, from that point of view.
And it's going to evolve even faster, because a lot of AI, and Salesforce was years in this with code gen, with developing your own code with AI. It's going to, speed up the processes of development as well. And, once that happens, it's just going to, there's going to be so much innovation coming out faster and faster. It's really hard for consumers to grapple with it, of the changes that are coming so fast.
Well, John, I mean, real story. I'm advising a group of organization on the Salesforce ecosystem, and we need to put a lot of standards. Okay, and I'm putting together a particular use case to put the standards on emails and phones. And you go to the App Exchange. There's a bunch of applications, paid or free, or you can develop your own, or you can connect to Informatica, for example. They give you some standardization on addresses. But I went, very simple. I went to Chat GPT. Jesus Hoyos, a super user of Salesforce. I know how to code, but I forgot like 20 years ago. Okay. But I need to be sure that I have, in these 3 different technologies, I can develop, a standardization for phones and for emails for all countries. Okay, and make sure that please create me the logic in Apex, in flows, and okay, and I say, oh my goodness, and then fast forward, you guys come up with your prompt for code, in GitHub, where it's very much the same. You put your prompt, you need to know how to prompt,
Yes,
it's very important. You got to be very specific. You need to know how to code. You need to be a Salesforce administrator. You need to be a super user. As you learn, the better, But I was extremely surprised that I was able, within, I don't know, less than an hour, come up with the logic. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't there, but he understood me. And here we go. And then all of a sudden, you guys came up with the Copilot for the developers, and it's my team is using it, and it's impressive, from that point of view. So not only can you use it for the business users, AI is also will be used in the Salesforce ecosystem for development, for low code, no code. One example, a good friend of mine, Sara Hernandez, she's one of your golden hoodies. She's from Venezuela, and I think it was in Dreamforce. She got one of the golden hoodies. I think two.
I didn't know she was a friend of yours. That's great.
Yeah. So she was doing a prompt where she does a product summary. Okay, and then based on the results, it goes into text at the opportunity level. So it's right there. It's a tool for the developer, to use it. Versus trying to do a report and do this and do the other stuff, a flow. But it was very, 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 to the point. To be able to help the sales users, to understand, where we are with the products. So that's important because they give you the capabilities to deploy stuff quickly. And I'm eager and waiting to know whatever you guys are going to launch in Dreamforce, particularly for low code, no code development, because this process of the DevOps, because right now with the shadow IT that we have in many companies, companies that the business is buying Salesforce. And now IT is coming, hey, let's put some standards on governance. And with AI, we're going to need that. I'm curious to see, whenever you launch this in Dreamforce, your announcements with development, faster, deployment of flows, better integrations out there, so you can quickly add more value, and deploy more functionality. Because traditionally, any CRM people buy, they use 10, 20, 30%, when they don't have a good, governance. When they have good governance, and I think that they use it. But now with AI, the new tools, I think this is the future for the companies who are not maximizing whatever they purchase to maximize it, because it's right there. You can use it. So
there's also Heroku for more pro code and low code as well. And you're absolutely right. There will be platform announcements about code and what we've been doing there at Dreamforce. Dreamforce is going to be, I don't want to give anything away, but because we just finished World Tour London last week, and World Tour Boston might be right now, today. And we make announcements with every World Tour. And these announcements will be compiled, and there'll be enhancements to those announcements for Dreamforce, but we'll also have announcements at Dreamforce that are separate from the ones that are going on World Tour. In the past, it was the other way around. Dreamforce was saved for all the biggest announcements, and then the World Tours were meant to take those announcements and bring them into more regional events. People couldn't go to Dreamforce, but now everything's kind of in the open. We stream Dreamforce, we stream the World Tours, the keynotes. So much of the content's out there, and I think code gen and just code development in general it's got to be the most fascinating but less talked about thing that's going on. I know that some of the news that's out there is, well, if you use a code generation tool, Chat GPT, to write code, where's the code coming from? Is it stealing somebody's code that's already there? Like, there's already been some news about that, but so there have to be some safety nets around that. But one of the things I've been experimenting with is using any prompt. I'm not talking about Salesforce, Einstein Studio, or I'm not talking about any of the things like that. Any prompt is to help me create a better prompt. And now there's RAG that can, help with like fine tuning your prompt itself. But to create a prompt in order to get a better prompt, like it's you can use it for anything. It's your language, right? It's so important.
You mentioned this, but this, having a flashback of, myself, Esteban Kolsky, Brent Larry, Paul Greenman, the whole crowd, at the lobby of the Marriott discussing, what would be the announcement? We sort of know, but how should we ask? Who's going to ask the question, And then, and whenever he said, so we're like, trying to figure out who's going to do the prompt of the prompt, the question of the question. And that's a reality. we need to understand how to make that prompt, because data doesn't know. We are the people we need to ask the question properly, from that point of view, And that takes me to my next question, will be the last, because, we have another 5 minutes here, John. You already have some functionality to integrate with Google and Microsoft, okay? And many of the other vendors are making an announcement, to integrate to Microsoft 365 Copilot. And you're using today, and just to be sure that people understand this, with Sales Cloud, you have what is called Einstein Activity Capture, and you have the inbox, and you have sequences that, and that is evolving. But that goes to your email, Outlook or Gmail, and does some magic, and you bring the activities, and they're captured, and they use AI to do that. But this is evolving, and I see eventually, you don't have to say yes or no, wait for the announcement or whatever. But I see eventually, because integrate to the Microsoft and the Google from the workspaces, like you're doing today with the Slack, So that's something as well that those platforms, they need to coexist, somehow, in order to make life easier for the customers.
Yes, and and absolutely. I mean, working with competitors is better for the customer if the customer already has that, and we have to prove our value over and over again. With Microsoft and Google, Google's a partner, so Microsoft's a partner as well. We have to integrate. We launched last month at Tableau conference in San Diego. Not sure the exact date. I was there, but it was last month sometime. Launched that Tableau could work with Teams, as an example, and Slack can work across the board. Slack can be a super app above all apps, whether they're in your Salesforce system, like Slack, just our usage ourselves. I don't go into Workday or Coupa anymore or Concur, any of them. They're from competitive products often. I just go through Slack, and there's a workflows where I just do approvals and things like that. It saves a ton of time. And customers want their technologies to work together. They don't want to build it themselves, and it's up to the vendors to peacefully coexist, whether they're competitors or not. That's our goal. That's one of the beauties about Salesforce to be from the beginning is we were open, and we'll remain that way. So we'll work with your LLMs from different LLMs. We'll work with different technologies. One of the first things a long time ago, this was maybe 2003 or 4, when I was first starting, is that we had Outlook developed by Microsoft and Salesforce. I don't know if that was, I'm sure it's so long ago that it's not under non-disclosure or anything like that, but it was co-developed. So that, Salesforce and Outlook could coexist together. And, it's, neither here nor there now, but that's our goal. We want to work together with our systems. At the same time, we want to be better than every one of our competitors. And we want to be number one in every category, so that over time, customers will move to Salesforce as they can.
Perfect. So any last words, John? I just want to tell
last
that
words. Well, that sounds very final, Jesus.
And for this episode,
Okay, good. Okay, thank you for that caveat. And that clarification. Last words. It's the best time to be in technology. It's the best time to be a consumer of technology as well. It's the best time to be in the technology field. There's so much going on. Whether you're talking about security or particular industries, there's movement everywhere. There's no stagnation at all. And it's just an amazing time. And I'm having the time of my life at Salesforce, and there's so much work to do ahead. So I'll never be bored, ever. and I'm pretty sure none of our customers will either.
No, they won't. So again, Dreamforce, which I have the new logo there, says I love AI, I love artificial intelligence. On the website, it's going to be on September 17, 18, and 19. So 90 more days to go. So John, thank you so much. I will see you there. Please don't leave yet while I do the outro. Okay. Again, thank you so much, John, for your time. And for everybody out there, this is going to be on my podcast platforms. Be on the lookout for them. And thank you very much. Cuídense en punto. Okay.